Greetings fellow commanders, it's Commander RYANT1UM here, and today we are back once again in Stellaris Console Edition with the Megacorp DLC. So the Megacorp DLC has brought out quite a few things, but one of the biggest was the changes to the civics and the governing ethics of the actual empire itself. Now, if you're new to Stellaris, inside of Stellaris you have the ability to change your government to be a democracy, an oligarchy, a dictatorship, or an imperial hegemony, alongside of also having the ability to be a hive mind or a gestalt consciousness. But for those of us who are already kind of well seasoned in the, types of ethics and the types of authorities that you have, in order to change your government into a megacorp, you do need to go ahead and come to the government and ethics page, scroll down to the bottom, and scroll until you find the Megacorporation. So similar to when you're wanting to play as a Gestalt Consciousness, you gotta go ahead and choose that, and then you can choose between Hive Mind as well as an AI network. Only if you have Utopia, I think, and then Synthetic Dawn. But anyways, the Megacorporation. The Megacorporation, few new civics for us to play around with, and that's what this video is going to be all about. It's going to be all about each and every single one of these little civics, what it can do for your empire, and how it will affect you. So before we get into the actual civics of the Megacorps, it's important to go ahead and take a look at what the Megacorporation actually brings along with it, because unlike a lot of the other government types, the Megacorporation actually does have an empire modifier alongside with it. It gives you a +20 to your administrative capacity, which can be very powerful, especially combined with pacifism. Pacifism with extra Megacorp administrative capacity means you can spread early on without the massive penalty, and you do get quite a penalty for going over your Empire Sprawl. Now, the unfortunate part is Empire Sprawl is probably one of the most difficult things to manage early on in the game, especially if you're going for a wide playthrough. However, if you watched my previous video about kind of a brief overview of Megacorp, I did kind of state that, 50 systems would probably be a decent thing as long as you've got a bunch of friends, allies, and branch offices open on, a bunch of different worlds. So you gotta really be careful when playing as a Megacorporation to watch your Empire Sprawl, but having that extra admin cap is very, very nice. Now, similar to the oligarchy, they do have elections every 20 years, and the election cost can run pretty steep, so anything that can lower that, definitely go for it. I think it's about 200 influence to elect someone, or you can abstain and just let the AI choose. But now we can go ahead and get into the actual civics and what they do to your empire. So first, we start off with brand loyalty. This Megacorporation has fostered a great sense of brand loyalty among its internal consumer base. Its catchy corporate slogans can be recited by nearly everyone. So this gives you an extra 15% monthly unity, and honestly, when it comes to unity as a Megacorp with that Empire Sprawl bonus, the more you can have, the less impact you'll feel if you go over your admin cap. So the more unity you can produce, and the more unity from the same jobs that you can produce, is definitely something to take a look at, and something to keep in mind. But keep in mind, this doesn't give you plus 15% monthly unity to monthly jobs, it just gives you a flat 15% to your monthly unity from the beginning, which is kind of nice. Having a little bit of extra unity can help you unlock those traditions, and the important traditions, to get you going faster. Then we come to a favorite of mine, both in playing it, but also in coming up against it, because it gives you some interesting things to go along with it, and that's the criminal heritage. This Megacorporation can trace its origins back to a crime syndicate that eventually grew powerful enough to supplant all forms of local government. It's pretty awesome. Now, the interesting thing is, this is probably the biggest shift when it comes to Megacorp and giving you a fairly unique way of playing, rather than just taxing the shit out of people and building lots of clerks. This one has quite a few effects with it. You cannot form commercial pacts. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Commercial pacts are how you build branch offices, that's how you make a lot of your money, with different empires and stuff like that. How can a Megacorp not want to use a commercial pact? Well, we're going to get into that. You cannot join federations, which can definitely be damning to a Megacorp, but with one as such as a criminal heritage, you're going to be kind of on your own. But here's the catch. You can build branch offices on the planet of any regular empire, so long as they have no war or active truce with. That's a really interesting mechanic. You can actually build an office on your rival / your kind of enemy across the galaxies planets, and increase crime on their planets. And the crazy part is, the more crime, the more money you make. It's very backwards, and I love it. Now, the crime on branch office planets increase the branch office value. So you can build special crime increasing corporate buildings, which is a lot of fun. However, you do need to be aware that there is a casus belli, or a casus belli, however you want to pronounce it, that comes with a criminal heritage that the Empire, who you have a branch office open on, can do against you. And it's called the expropriation, I believe, or the excommunication one. I can't remember exactly what it's called. But basically, they can kick you out of their planets and close the branch offices, but they have to go to war with you. It could be a bit annoying to have to go to war just to get one branch office closed, but the amount of havoc that they can wreak on a planet, it's possible that it's worth it. Then we have franchising. This megacorporation relies heavily on franchising. Subsidiaries share a greater cut of their profits with their corporate overlord in exchange for a license to market their goods under established brands. Now, this is a really interesting one because if you watched my previous video, I had said that one of the biggest things about Megacorp is having lots of subsidiaries. So what this does is the effects of the subsidiary subject power on relations is reduced by 33%, and the impact of all branch offices on our empire sprawl is decreased by an additional 25%. Now, what I really would have loved to see within the franchising kind of civic is instead of the effects of the subsidiary subject power on relations being reduced by 33%, they should instead change the amount of money that they pay you based on the description of the actual civic to 33% rather than the subject power, because I think that would be really, really cool, because normally it's a flat 25% that they pay you in minerals or in energy. But I think being able to make 33% would be very, very nice. Be a very good bump to your subsidiaries and to your taxes on your subsidiaries and stuff. So this is a good one, especially if you plan on playing fairly tall, but also having a lot of subsidiaries with a ton of branch offices open. Then there's free traders. The trading fleets of this megacorporation are bolstered by semi-independent free traders operating under a license. This gives you a flat 10% trade value as well as a 10% increase to your branch office value, which can be very valuable and very powerful in the beginning whenever you first open like your very first branch office. Having that extra 10% not only on the branch office value, but the amount of trade value you can get from that is honestly very, very good. And more trade value just gives you more money in the end, because trade value can basically be turned into unity, energy, and consumer goods, or just energy, because who doesn't love money? Then we come to media conglomerate, one that's not necessarily, as important and wouldn't necessarily be one to go for, but before branching into other fields, this megacorporation began its rise to fortune as a media conglomerate. Its PR department are still masters of spinning stories and presenting the latest quarterly reports in the most advantageous way. So it makes your war exhaustion gain a little bit slower, but it also gives you a nice 5% citizen pop happiness. It's basically just propaganda, let's be honest. So it's not the most important one, not the strongest one, but it can be nice if you're going from like a maximum happiness run. Having happy pops means more population is putting out more resources, which is always good. Then we come to probably one of the most powerful ones that you can combine with a lot of different things within Megacorp. Private prospectors. Private prospectors is the building of better worlds in is hazardous work, but this megacorporation relies on private prospectors to chart and establish footholds on promising planets. This brings back the private colony ship and gives you another 10 admin cap. Now think about this for one moment. Grab yourself private prospectors, be a megacorporation that's already plus 30 to your admin cap. Then plop in pacifist, you got another 10, plus you have stability plus 5 to your planets. That starts you off with 40 extra admin cap at the beginning of the game, with no other civics, no other technology, nothing. So if you've ever wanted to, really spread pretty quickly, it's kind of nice. Not to mention that the private prospectors, the private colony ship does cost 500 energy, as opposed to 200 food, 200 alloys, and 200 consumer goods. So if you're like me, and I always start off the game with negative consumer goods, having the ability to have energy, especially in a mega corporation where you're focused only on energy, it's a very nice way to spread very cheaply. Then we have ruthless competition. All levels of society in this megacorp are constantly vying with each other in ruthless competition. It's a dog-eat-dog world indeed. So this gives you a leader level cap +1 and a leader experience gain +10%, which is great, especially if you can combine it with one of the traits that you can do, which is, I believe it's talented and quick learners. So you could actually have some pretty powerful leaders if you combine that with the ruthless competition. So it's a pretty good one, but again, like Media Conglomerate, not really the most powerful. Then we have trading posts. Good business is where you find it. This megacorp has a long tradition of spreading its influence through the establishment on trading posts. Their starbases are busy centers of trade. Starbase capacity +4. This one can be very powerful, especially if you're going wide. If you're going to be playing kind of tall, it's probably not the most important because you can get away with probably 2, 3, maybe 5 of your stations being dedicated trade stations. But if you're going to be massive sprawling empire with lots and lots of star systems, like 100+ star systems, having more and more of these trading posts to be able to connect your trade outlets before you have a gateway network can definitely be a very important boon and a very powerful boon to your megacorp from the beginning of the game. Because being able to get that juicy trade value that's in space is quite nice. Then we have one that's only available to the spiritualists. You don't need to be fanatic, but you do need to be some degree of spiritualist. This is the gospel of the masses. This megacorporation embraces a curious blend of commercial and spiritualistic values, in which the positions of ordained minister and corporate officer have merged into a single role. Now this one is wonderful because it combined with brand loyalty, you can really begin to snowball a few things. So your spiritualist pops give additional trade value on all planets and branch offices, and you can also build the Temple of Prosperity corporate building, which is really, really cool. Plus it gives you an extra 50% spiritualist ethics attraction. Combine that with, what's the trait that allows them to be a bit more, conformists. More governing ethics attraction, and you've got tons of governing ethics attraction. In fact, from the beginning, that would be an 80% ethics attraction to your regular governing ethics, which is very powerful, especially because the more you spread out, the less and less people tend to agree with your ethics. Then we have indentured assets for those of us that want to be a bit of a bad megacorp. This megacorporation specializes in large indentured workforces. It has little to do with the barbaric practice of slavery. These workers are merely paying off their debts, indefinitely. So this gives you a plus 10% to your slave output, and your enslaved pop ratio will be 40%. Now this can be very powerful with authoritarian governments. In fact, you do actually have to have an authoritarian government to use this, because if we take a look at the authoritarian, you can allow stratified economy, enslave aliens, and you have plus influence as well as more basic resource output. Combine fanatic authoritarianism with indentured assets, and you will find you'll be swimming in energy credits from jobs, minerals from jobs, as well as food from jobs, faster than you can say, holy crap, I need to sell this. Because my god, it's crazy powerful. Then we have Naval Contractors. This megacorporation relies on several semi-independent naval contractors to increase its fleet size. Competing for bids, the contractors are always struggling to outperform one another. It's very simple, very straightforward. It gives you a plus 15% to your naval capacity, which is always kind of nice. Combine that with some militarism, and you've got yourself quite a good fleet right from the beginning, and you don't have to waste any time on the society research. And finally, we have yet another one of the kind of more useless ones, and that's private military companies. This megacorporation has a large number of powerful private military companies on its payroll. These mercenary contractors augment its ground forces. So you do need to be somewhat militarist, but it's really not that worth it. Not that worthwhile, I should say. It gives you an extra 20% army damage, which, if you like armies, sure. Plus, it makes them cheaper to upkeep, which is always nice, especially if you like to have a standing army of like 5,000 xenomorphs. Go for it. Go for it and have a, 20% less expensive military. But all in all, I think Megacorp adds quite a few awesome civics to kind of spice it up a little bit when it comes to playing a money-hungry empire. Because that's the name of the game when it comes to Megacorp. Always go for trade value. It's awesome, and it's so much fun. Now, what are some things that you can combine to make it even more powerful? Well, there's a couple things that you can do. We've already touched on a couple of them, but I will say, if you want to do a really powerful playthrough, you want to be spiritualist, pacifist, and xenophile or egalitarian. Now, the reason I say either xenophile or egalitarian is because as a xenophile, you get an extra 10% trade value on top of everything. Now, you can't enslave, you can't displace, but you also get increased opinion. And I say egalitarian because you get more influence from your factions, but you also get 5% specialist output. But the most important is it allows utopian living standards. And being able to have unemployed pops on your planet, while also being able to produce unity and research with that living condition, that is very, very powerful. Especially considering you're going to be focusing a lot on clerks and energy production rather than unity and anything else. So you want to make sure that you've got something like that. But the reason I say spiritualist is so that you can go ahead and take gospel of the masses and then brand loyalty. You've got yourself spiritualists who give trade value, and you get an extra 15% unity, plus you also have monthly unity plus 10%. So you start off the game with an extra 25% income of monthly unity. And I gotta say, that's pretty dang powerful. You could even go fanatic spiritualist if you wanted to. So there's definitely a few cool things that you can do within Megacorp and really kind of custom tailor your empires and make them a lot of fun. So that's the end of today's video, but I wanted to go ahead and tell you and let you know about an upcoming video that I'm going to be doing on branch offices. We've talked a lot about branch offices today, and I know it can be a little bit confusing when you first jump into it. So the next video that'll be coming out eventually is going to be on branch offices. I'm going to do a bit of research over the weekend, make sure I've got everything good, and we'll jump right into that come the next week most likely. So let me know what you guys thought of this down there in the comment section. Are you guys planning to do a Megacorp playthrough? Let me know what your guys' empire builds are down there in the comment section. I'd love to hear what it is. But that'll be it, and that is Commander Ryantium signing off.